Well, it is time for the Grapevine. We're going to do this disclosure, and I really want to have some conversation about this. Go ahead.
Copyright disclaimer. Under Title 17 U.S.C. Section 107, allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use.
Okay, here we come.
All right. So for anyone who doesn't know, through the Grapevine segment is just some popular upcoming news that we have coming on or that's going on around the world. And this week, Kirk Franklin released his documentary Father's Day, and this crazy story happened. And we actually have a video if you want to go ahead and play it, Christian.
Earlier this year, Kirk Franklin decided to make a documentary about his experience recording his 13th album, saying this would be his most difficult album yet. During the process, something huge happened. One of his team members, Melody, someone whom he's known for years, brought some news to his attention. There was a funeral at her church, and this guy named Rick was talking to her and said, "I dated Deborah when I was a little boy." For context, Deborah is Kirk's biological mom. The rumor mill started spinning, and Deborah had reached out to Kirk saying, "If you would like to talk to me about the rumor that is floating around out there, call back. Just remember, as I told you once, I will not lie to you about anything." Rick had heard the rumors too, and of his own volition, got his mouth swabbed and essentially told Melody that if Kirk wanted to get to the heart of this, it would be Kirk's choice since it impacted him the most. Kirk decided to move forward with the DNA test, and it turned out that Rick was his father. When he shared the news with Rick, the two shared an emotional moment taking in the information. Rick was heartbroken because if he'd known, he says he would have been around for Kirk and would have been a father to him. However, when Kirk told Deborah, she didn't believe him. They had to do a second DNA test, and the result was still the same. In short, Rick told Kirk that their doors would always be open to him, but at Kirk's own pace. Deborah ended up leaving, refusing to believe that Rick was indeed Kirk's dad. What are your thoughts? Be sure to watch the documentary in its entirety on Kirk Franklin's channel and let us know in the comments below. All images and video clips are provided by Kirk Franklin's new documentary, A Kirk Franklin Story, unless otherwise noted.
Well, first, I want to give credit to Aaron.
Yeah.
Aaron, you did an amazing job putting that video together. I hit Aaron on Tuesday, I believe Tuesday at late afternoon, and I said, Aaron, I have a show that I want to have current event that I wanted to discuss because it really, my daughter sent it to me and it just touched my soul. I cried so much through it. And I said, I want to talk about this on the current event. Abigail normally does this, and Erin, I just have such an amazing team. She didn't bark at it. That's not her area of expertise. That's Christian and Abigail's area of expertise. And
kudos.
You did an excellent job. Thank you. Good job.
Thanks, y'all.
All right, let's jump right into this conversation. I kind of shared off the top how I feel about it. Has anybody saw the video? Did anybody see the video?
I haven't seen the documentary, but I've been seeing like clips about it.
Okay.
Everybody is talking about it. I do personally feel like that's very sad that she kept that information he's 53, so
Yes.
53 years.
Yes.
So,
And his dad was right down the street.
Wow.
Where he go ahead.
So I did have an opportunity to watch the whole thing, and I don't know if like I go back and forth. Part of me is like she did lie, but then the other part is I think she is just genuinely convinced for whatever reason, whether it be like her own struggles and doesn't want to admit something, or if they just had some previous beef. They didn't go in depth about the relationship, just that they had dated at one point.
Well, I think to me, a lie is a lie. You
Right.
can't cover it up.
Right.
She told this young man who his dad supposedly was. He met this the initial dad just before his death.
Right.
And then he finds out not on his own going and look. So he thought he buried his dad. And then to find out, no, you have another dad here who his own child was going to visit over in the area, playing with his dad, his biological dad in the neighborhood. And so for me, and then when he had the opportunity for her to come clean, she still wouldn't. You know, he did the second test. And what I'm saying is sometimes you hold on to lies because of shame or guilt, but she had walked in and out of this young man's life his whole life. So he never really felt a part. And there was a key part in this video of the documentary when his aunt came up to the vehicle to her first words out of her mouth to him was cursing. basically get your out the car, you know. And it was maybe it was their own endearing way, the way they talk, but it definitely showed toxic.
And that was a part of the documentary?
That was a part of the documentary. So, and that I think that aunt is the sister. Yeah.
Okay.
So
To his mother or to
his biological mother. Yeah. So, and she's the one that apparently raised him to, or the aunt and the grandma or something like that. So.
I'm curious, did she lie? Like, did she knowingly deceive him? Did she lie?
We don't
Or
know.
did she not know
That
who the father was? Bless her heart. Whatever.
Because it could have been something very traumatic that happened to her because she was a young girl that she put it in the back of her head.
And even if it wasn't dramatic, even if she was promiscuous,
That's
right? She could have just very well
But
been promiscuous and did not know.
But she clearly didn't even acknowledge ever having a relationship with this man.
Well, that part
right there.
And after the DNA test, she still proceeded to walk out.
Yes.
There, you can't, the DNA test is not a lie.
Yes. And it was
probably because in her mind, the person who she claimed, you know, as the father, she probably really wanted that to be the father.
Right.
And, you know, didn't want it to seem like she had, you know, basically not allowed this guy to have a relationship with his real father for all this time, because that would take some responsibility. She would have to take accountability for that portion of it, you know.
But I want to ask Christian, Aaron, could y'all put the picture up of the two of them one more time?
Okay. The father.
There's no doubt.
There's no doubt. And that's why when they saw each other the first, when they actually,
you have such a point, right?
when they actually,
I see no doubt. I see no doubt.
Which is so funny when he walked up to the door and they actually saw each other, you can clearly see that they both were just at awe. And it was almost like they instantaneously knew. And the thing that I really liked about his father said, I'll be here. I'll let you come at your own pace.
Yes.
And that part right there meant
Thank you, Christian.
That meant everything because he didn't take the time. He didn't make it about him.
Yes.
You know, even though he had missed out on being a part of his son's life, he didn't make it about him. He actually said, I'm going to give you your space.
And it's important to give people space, right? Don't try to force what you want onto other people. I know I'm definitely a person where if you try to force my hand, you will almost guarantee the opposite result because I don't like that. So I think it's important to allow people to kind of take things in and to have the space and the grace to come to terms with whatever it is that, you know, they are coming to terms with at that time and just move forward from there. Yeah. And I also think kudos to the dad because now it doesn't appear like, oh, I'm just trying to be in his life because he's Kirk Franklin, because of his success.
Right.
Like I genuinely want to
Yeah.
build a relationship with him, but I'm willing to step back and let him, you know, let it kind of
I'm sure he had to hear over the years that, man, you sure Kirk is not your son?
I think so too.
Because they look so much alike. How many? They say everybody has a doppelganger or whatever. So you never know.
Yeah,
you
but
can't
right around the corner.
But you can't just go by that.
You know, Brother Carter. Y'all know Brother Carter go always. Okay, before we go to cut the crap, there is one other part in this documentary that touched my heart was when he had to, because you know he had this toxic relationship with his own son, Kirk did, and so he invited his son over to have a conversation. It's so worth going back and watching. I'm telling you guys, please check it out. He invited his son over, and he really sat down and allowed his son to go, and he almost had this exact same emotions that his father had and that Kirk had. And so just to see those dynamics was just unreal. And they actually ended up really, it wasn't as toxic as you would think it would be. They kind of felt each other. So
which is beautiful.
Which is beautiful in the end.
So he had baggage. Kirk had baggage,
Yes.
and gave that same baggage
To his son.
Yes. Yeah, just the generational curse of it all.
Exactly. So that's
Usually is the way it happens.
Yeah.
It's just passed down.
and
Junk
that,
is passed down.
Junk is passed down.
and that ties into our conversation today. That's why I really felt that it was very important that we have this conversation, because it really showed how we pass generational stuff down.
And Justin B. Long is an expert on how junk can be passed down.
I think about this story just from the perspective of, how do you build a relationship with someone that's your father at 53? I've never met my biological father, not since I was a toddler, but I think about that from time to time. It's, I've reached out to him a couple of times and I've never gotten a response, but as an adult, like, how do you even go about,
right?
What do you say? What do you build things on?
Yeah.
And
How
so
do you build
I would be interested to see how this develops, just as a roadmap for me in case that ever happens in my life.
I think that everybody, and please, everybody seek to connect to who they're connected to. And so, Justin, I'm glad you brought that out, because even at your age, you're saying you're still seeking. You would like to kind of at least know and have some type of relationship. How that relationship is going to turn out, only God would know. But I would agree with you. I would like to see how this turns out for
Amen.
them. Yeah,
Amen.
great show. Well,